have journeyed far. Together, we established the foundational truth that you are the architect of your reality. We then discovered the boundless nature of your resources, that you are not a drop in the ocean, but the entire ocean in a drop. And most recently, we turned inward to face the great saboteur, the ghost in the machine, learning not to vanquish the shadow, but to integrate it. You have begun the great work. You have acknowledged your power, recognized your infinite potential, and started the difficult process of making peace with the enemy inside. You are no longer a house divided. The architect is at the drafting table, the blueprints are clear, and the saboteur has been offered a seat at the council. And yet, as you stand at the threshold of your inner citadel, ready to build, you hear a noise. First, it's a whisper, then a murmur, then a roar. It is the sound of the world outside your walls. It is the endless, relentless siege of the external. It is the fire hose of information, opinion, and outrage, blasting against the gates of your mind, 24 hours a day. It is the phantom vibration in your pocket. It is the headline designed to provoke your anger, the advertisement engineered to create a feeling of lack, the endless scroll that hijacks your dopamine and leaves you feeling hollow. This is the new battlefield. Having addressed the traitor within, you must now face the siege from without. Because what is the point of building a cathedral of the mind if you leave the gates wide open for the chaos of the world to use it as a marketplace? What good is a serene inner sanctum if you allow the noise of the mob to echo in its halls? The modern world is not merely a distraction. It is an active campaign for the territory of your mind. Every notification, every algorithm, every breaking news alert is an invading force with a single objective: to capture your most precious, non-renewable resource, your attention. When your attention is scattered, your will is broken. When your focus is fractured, your power dissipates. You, the great architect, become a frantic servant, running to put out 1,000 tiny, meaningless fires, while your grand design gathers dust. This is the subtle tyranny of the modern age, to keep you so busy reacting that you never have the energy to create. So we must install a new protocol, a protocol for the guardian of your inner world. We must train the gatekeeper of your mind. This is not about building higher walls. It is not about hiding from the world in a monastery of ignorance. A fortress that cannot interact with the outside world is not a fortress. It is a tomb. No, this is about wisdom. It is about discernment. It is about standing at the gate of your own consciousness and choosing, with deliberate intent, what you allow to enter. The Gatekeeper Protocol consists of 3 critical inquiries. 3 questions you must ask of any piece of information, any opinion, any event that demands entry into your mind. First, the triage of truth and utility. When a piece of information arrives at your gate, the first question is not, "Is this interesting?" or "Is this shocking?" The question is twofold. Is this true? And is this useful to the architect? So much of what we consume is speculation, gossip, or outrage porn, information that is neither verified nor useful for the construction of a meaningful life. The gatekeeper must be ruthless. It must learn to dismiss the trivial, the unverified, and the irrelevant with swift efficiency. It is not your job to have an opinion on everything. It is your job to build your life. Guard your focus accordingly. Second, the assessment of emotional cost. If a piece of information passes the first gate, if it is both true and potentially useful, the second inquiry is more subtle. The gatekeeper must ask, what is the price of entry? Not in money, but in spirit. Does this knowledge empower me, or does it drain me? Does it inspire action, or does it cultivate a feeling of helpless anxiety? A fact can be true, but its emotional tax can be so high that it bankrupts your will for the rest of the day. You have a finite amount of emotional energy. The gatekeeper's job is to invest it wisely, not to allow it to be stolen by the tragedies and dramas of the world over which you have no control. You must learn to acknowledge a truth without letting it colonize your emotional landscape. And finally, the third and most important inquiry, the test of intentional alignment. This is where the gatekeeper moves from defense to offense. This question is not about what's trying to get in, but about what you intentionally go out and find. The gatekeeper asks, does this align with my blueprint? Does this book, this conversation, this documentary, this skill I'm learning, does it serve the grand design of the person I am striving to become? This transforms you from a passive consumer of random data into an active seeker of curated wisdom. Your mind is no longer a dumping ground for the world's noise. It becomes a serene and orderly library, where every piece of information has been intentionally selected to contribute to the masterpiece you are building. This is the work of the gatekeeper, to stand guard, to question everything, to protect the sanctity of your focus. The siege will never end. The noise will never fall silent. But it does not have to breach your walls. By practicing this protocol, you create a buffer of peace around you. You create silence, and in that silence, the architect can finally get to work. In that silence, you can finally hear the sound of your own soul. Activate the Sapien Protocol, and give your architect the peace to build.